candidates rather than to each other, and attacks directed at other candidates are not permitted. This is a forum, not a debate. All candidates here today have agreed to follow these rules. We also ask that the audience please refrain from applause or otherwise expressing their approval or disapproval until the forum is complete. All questions for the candidate must be in writing. Questions should be brief and relevant to the office being sought. Please, no negative remarks, rudeness, profanity, and no personal attacks. If we receive any questions that are of that nature, we won't ask them. If you need an index card and pencil, please signal one of our question runners. Runners, can you identify yourself? They are in the back, okay? So once you've written your question, raise your hand and someone will pick it up. Because it is typical that we receive many similar questions, we have Jan Gallup from the league up front. She'll be sorting and organizing similar questions before passing them up to me. It's pretty much a given that we won't have time to answer everyone's question, but generally the candidates will stick around after to meet with you if you have questions. And then finally, please remember to write legibly. If you can't read your question, we can't ask it. So before we get started, I'm pleased to introduce our candidates. Beginning to my left, we have Susie Price.
Hi, yes it is. Having some technical difficulties, but sorting them out.
And Rex Richardson. Okay, so we are ready to get started with our candidates' opening remarks. Are our timers ready? All right. Susie Price, please go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for hosting us here today. It's really a great opportunity to be here and to get to meet some new people and also see folks that I haven't seen in person for quite a bit of time. So thank you for having us. I like to start by sharing a little bit of my background with people who may not know of my background, because I think our background really helps shape our value system, where we come from, and what our vision towards the world is. I immigrated to this country at the age of 7 with my mother. We left a revolution in the country of Iran. We were not allowed to go back to the country because we left without my father's permission. And that caused us to be separated from my father and 3-year-old sister for 21 years. I share that with you because that experience formed the foundation of who I am. I learned how to speak English and watched my mother sometimes work multiple jobs to establish herself as a public school nurse here in America. For us, the American dream was to someday have a home with no shared walls and a backyard where we could raise my kids and have a future in a city that we called home. I'm so proud to have accomplished that vision and that dream here in the city of Long Beach. Our path wasn't always easy, but it did lead me to Cal State Long Beach, where I first found that I had leadership skills and surrounded myself with people who believed in me. And that formed the basis of so much of my work in public service. I've spent 23 years fighting for victims of crime as a public prosecutor specializing in child sexual assault, domestic violence, and homicide cases. My career has been about service, not politics. 8 years ago, I ran for city council because I was involved in my kids' PTA, and the parents wanted a crosswalk. We couldn't get City Hall to give us a crosswalk, so I ran for city council and I won. Surprisingly, I won. For the last 8 years, my commitment to my constituents has been service over politics. I'm a problem solver, and I don't believe there's any room for partisan politics when it comes to serving our constituents. I've served my constituents by listening to their needs and identifying solutions for their problems, and working very hard with the team that I've had for over 7 years to make sure that the needs of our community are at the forefront of everything that I do. I'm running for mayor because as I go out into the city, I realize that everybody has some of the same basic needs from our city. 1, everyone wants to feel safe in this city. 2, everyone wants to know that their elected leaders have a solution for homelessness that is based upon action and not just talk. And 3, everyone wants the city to be vibrant, both from an art standpoint and economic development standpoint. We want a city that it has the potential to be so much more. And we want to make sure that we are working together in an inclusive way to celebrate our diversity and make our city more vibrant through economic development and through arts and culture, which I'm sure we'll talk about today. I look forward to talking with you further today about specific plans and answering your specific questions. But before we start, I just want to take a moment to say, look at the candidates that are up here. This is the beauty of Long Beach. The diversity of the candidates that stand before you, all of us minorities, all of us having overcome so much to be here. This is the beauty of Long Beach, and I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to get to know all of you better today. Thank you.
Mr. Sims, your opening statement.
Good morning. My name is Franklin. And Susie's right about the beauty of Long Beach. I want to share something with you all from last night. Last night I was there with Patrick and Susie's mom. And we were at First Friday, Bixby. And all the candidates are there. And we're talking to each other, eating cotton candy, just as much as we're talking to neighbors. And when I was leaving in Perseverance, that's my little electric cart that I drive around town, I passed by Rex and his family, and they're crossing the street. There's two little girls and his wife. You know, Long Beach is beautiful, and we want to preserve that. And that's why I'm running for mayor. Now, I was raised here in Long Beach, did the whole junket, Stanford Middle School. My brother was at Bixby. After middle school, I went to California Academy of Math and Science. They're on the campus of Dominguez Hills, still a part of Long Beach Unified, but in Carson. From there, I go to Cal State Long Beach, major in philosophy, stayed there 3 years because I took too many college courses at CAMS. Leaving there, go to law school. That was always my dream, to go to law school. And I went to UC Berkeley. After graduating at UC Berkeley, came back home and got married in the Japanese Garden, which is beautiful, like here, right on the campus of Cal State Long Beach. And 2 years later, held my daughter for the first time at St. Mary's Hospital. You know, I'm gonna get right to the point. I first got involved in politics in Long Beach through Measure A. I was opposed to the sales tax increase because I thought that the funding was not going to be used for what they promised that it would be used for. Well, I was right, and it wasn't. And now many of the promises that we were promised then, homelessness, fixing those pesky potholes, policing, we're talking about those issues right now. So I'm coming to you and I'm asking you a question. It's not, will you vote for me? The question is, are you finally ready to put yourselves first? The reality is, our city made history when we elected the first gay mayor. And that election was so important. The downside was that the city became so entrenched in lobbyist dollars and special interests that we began to lose our soul. But we get it. Politics in many ways is sometimes about money. But now we've got to make history again. And we've got to put a candidate into office in Long Beach who's going to say, I don't want the special interest dollars. What I want is for this city to be healthy and vibrant.
Mr. Rodriguez, your opening statement, please.
I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. So a little bit about myself. I grew up in Southern California, born in North Hollywood, lived in Pacoima up until 7, moved up to Lancaster. So if anyone knows those areas, full of gang violence. At 19, I was carjacked by a gang member, and I said, you know what, I can't be a victim for the rest of my life. It's time for me to move on. I joined the United States Marine Corps as one of my goals. Anyway, I served 5 years in the Marine Corps as a military policeman, and during my time in the military, I traveled the world, saw a lot of different cultures. After getting out of the Marine Corps, I joined the National Guard and served 3 years, and also was hired by the city of Los Angeles as a police officer. And so I've been serving since as a regular patrol officer for the last 10 years on the streets of LA. I currently work in San Pedro and Wilmington, so a lot of the problems that we have in Wilmington and San Pedro go to Long Beach and vice versa. It's always a ping pong effect, and so we see a lot of issues on both sides. So during that time, I met my wife. She's from Long Beach. She was born and raised in Long Beach, and we had our first date at District 1 in downtown, walked around, and I fell in love with the city. So in the end of 2013, I moved to Long Beach and got my first apartment off Broadway and Grant. We lived there for about 2 years before buying our first condominium, and off of Elm and Broadway in downtown Long Beach. I loved it, it was great. And then something started happening. Homelessness started increasing dramatically. This is before COVID. We started seeing a lot more violence, a lot more crime. And we wanted to have a family. So we had our first son, Grayson, and so we decided we needed to move. So we moved up to Bellflower and Willow. We were lucky enough and fortunate enough to buy a house over there. And we've lived there ever since. I still live there. We have another boy on the way, and my beautiful wife, Stephanie, is taking care of that little boy right now. So my platform is simple. And one of the reasons I got into this whole thing is because we've seen a dramatic increase in crime. We deserve better. We pay too much money as taxpayers, and as residents, we're invested. And so we deserve a safe environment. And so with 140% year-to-date increase in murders, with a projected murder rate of 44 this year, it has to stop somewhere. And so someone has to stand up and be sensible, because we can't allow our city to continue to deteriorate. On top of the fact that the homeless crisis has doubled in the last 2 years, not only because of COVID, just because we haven't given the services, the proper services to people. And so we need to find different solutions we need to bring outside help from the California government and for the federal government to build shelters. I also want to bring transparency, because a lot of us feel that we can't trust our own government. And so I ask you as a voter, are you happy with the government that's serving you right now? Because I'm not. Are you happy with the politicians that are in those elected offices? Because I'm not. I have nothing to hide, and I'm here to fight for you guys. And I appreciate the time to be here. Thank you.
Ms. Moser, your opening statement.
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, Mr. Cedillo, please.
Thank you so very much. I'm very grateful to be here. I came here to the United States at the age of 4 as a young Mexican immigrant. And who would have thought, this little boy from another country come here, not speaking a word of English, and now he's running to be the mayor of Long Beach. I grew up in Riverside County with my family. My dad worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3. I hardly ever saw him. For the most part, I was being raised by my grandmother. She was a hardworking woman. Her and my grandfather both worked. As a matter of fact, my grandfather is one of the founding fathers of the United Farm Workers Union, along with Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta. I'm very proud of that. Because of him and because of that work ethic and everything that they brought, I learned a lot from them. I learned a lot about that legacy. I learned a lot about working diligently, being selfless, and working for others. And I've had that since I was at a very young age. And I think my father noticed it. In 2008, I moved to, during the financial crisis, I lost everything. I lost my job. I started living off of my savings. Eventually, I had heard that if I moved to another state, or in this case, Texas still had plenty of jobs. So I took a chance. I said, well, I've got nothing here. So I moved to Texas, to cross state lines, on my own. No family, no one. I didn't know anyone in Texas. While I was there, I was working 40 hours a week, and then eventually that increased to 70 hours a week. I was living in my car. I was unhoused. I was struggling. Someone once invited me to their church. At that church, it was a wonderful ceremony. It was very moving, very touching. But while I was there, someone said to me, you know, Raul, on Sundays, we feed the needy. We help the unhoused. We do it every morning before Mass. Why don't you come join us next time? Come next Sunday, have breakfast with us. I was so grateful because I was rarely eating. I wasn't eating very much. So when I drove away, I started thinking about that offer, and I said to myself, do I really want to take this offer? Do I really want to go and take? Because in my mind, there are people that still had it worse than I did. There are people that are suffering far more than I was. Maybe I was just strong enough to know that I could go through it and get through it. Eventually, I was able to move up. I moved into a small trailer, no electricity, no heat. Now, it's not just about overcoming the odds. It's also about working hard and working for others. Today, I am a substitute teacher. But before that, I was an accountant. I was working for nonprofits. I also became a Christian minister. And I think that's what this position is, isn't it? It's about serving others. It's about helping the people. Thank you so much.
Okay, Ms. Moser, your opening statement, please.
Good morning. Thank you to the League of Women Voters and the RCI for this very important opportunity to educate and enlighten voters on who is on the ballot and what issues are on the ballot. We can't hear you. Okay, here. I'm Deb Moser, a longtime Long Beach resident, businesswoman, activist, proud mother of 2 college-age children. I have 30 years working experience in the private sector, where as VP of Credit, I managed a $5 billion portfolio of troubled commercial loans. Our city has 2 distinct directions currently presented to the voters, and we are at a crossroads. There is a third direction we can take. Do we want to go down the path where we have seen consistently for 8 years a city councilwoman who has always voted against immigration rights, protections, and a safe city where everyone belongs? Jose Luis Alvarado Sandoval, a Marine veteran, local business owner, father, and sole provider for his family, didn't matter to one city councilwoman, as seen by her vote on Resolution 16-1050. But he matters to me. The Long Beach Values Act of 2018, the Safe Cities Network Agreement, the Justice Fund for Immigrants, and the 2018 mayoral budget providing immigration protection and LGBTQ anti-bullying protection funds all received a no vote from this councilwoman. Caregivers that take care of our elderly, the National Family Caregivers Protection, as seen by Resolution 14-0992, got a no vote as well. Families and their caregivers matter to me. In 2015, this councilwoman wanted a medical cannabis task force that could shut down dispensaries, as seen by her vote on Resolution 15-0869, and voted no to receiving the medical cannabis file that would begin the process of streamlining dispensaries in our city. I believe going down this path is dangerous. We have another path where female hotel workers, all hospitality workers, as shown by protections from Resolution 17-0897 and protections for women in the workforce, all got a no vote from this councilman. But the women that work in hospitality will matter to me. This councilman voted no on Resolution 18-1101, the San Gabriel Lower LA River Stormwater Treatment Project. Green space, clean ports, water, and parks will matter to me. This councilman isn't for open transparency in government, as seen by his vote to keep all office holders' accounts closed to the public.
Ms. Moser, I'm sorry, I have to interrupt. The agreement was no personal attacks. I understand you're not using names.
Their votes are not personal.
If you could please refrain from doing that, please.
There is another path you can take by voting for Deb Moser, where women will matter, immigrants will matter, keeping medical cannabis accessible and affordable will matter, as seen by my LB Grows platform at debmoser4thelbc.com. The elderly and their caregivers will matter. The environmental issues faced by Long Beach will matter. And we will have an open and transparent government. Let's go down a new path and vote for Deb Moser for mayor. Thank you.
Mr. Richardson, your opening statement.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Rex Richardson, the Vice Mayor of the incredible city of Long Beach. I am here with my wife, Dr. Dina Richardson. We are a working family right here in Long Beach, where we're raising our 2 young daughters. I'm a collaborative leader with a proven track record of taking on big challenges and delivering for Long Beach residents. But I'm not originally from Long Beach. You should know that. I was born on an Air Force base in Belleville, Illinois. My father was in the Air Force. My mother is from Alabama, and she became a welder at General Motors on the assembly line, a real Rosie the Riveter. My mother and father divorced. We moved around a lot. Went to 14 public schools across 5 different states. I came to California on a Greyhound bus when I was 11 years old. And we were, my mother and father divorced, so she was a single mom. I have a sister, a younger brother. So, I'll tell you, we know what it's like to climb out of adversity, deal with adversity, and climb to the middle class. I'll tell you, a moment that changed my life was when I received my college acceptance letter. Go to Cal State Dominguez Hills as an EOP student, first one in my family to go to college and graduate college. I served as student body president there. I met my wife there. She didn't give me the time of day back then, but she gave me the time of day later. We were married at the Long Beach Museum of Art. I've dedicated my life to serving this community. I had an opportunity when I was 25 to buy a home in North Long Beach, a great community. 26, I got a chance to work for the city of Long Beach as chief of staff to Steve Neal. My community in North Long Beach is tremendous, but we lack some basic services and amenities. We're the only district in the city without a bank, a library, a coffee shop. We're the only district in the city without a paramedic. But I believe in community empowerment, so we began organizing. So we went from 4 to 13 neighborhood associations. I learned a lot as Steve Neal's chief of staff and took that community empowerment model and applied it as a council member. And the results, you can see the results. We charted an uptown renaissance that brought the Michelle Obama Neighborhood Library, the Doris Topsy Over Community Center, brought the Uptown Jazz Festival to North Long Beach, brought our first bank, restored our paramedic rescue 12, and reduced response times by 3 minutes. As a council member and as a vice mayor, I've been a leader on some of the city's biggest challenges. I'll tell you, when homelessness was at our front doorstep, I stepped forward and said, send our community. We built the credibility with the neighbors, and together we'll build the city's first municipal homeless shelter. We've led on localizing mental health services. We're engaged in these discussions because 50% of those individuals experiencing homelessness are dealing with chronic mental health issues and substance abuse and behavioral health. And so I'm leading these conversations. I'll tell you, we've had a very difficult last 2 years, but I'm inspired. I think our best days are ahead for our city. I know that we were able to do tremendous work standing up a national model on vaccination and testing. Our frontline grocery workers, our healthcare workers really stood up over the past 2 years, and I was right there with them, protecting our workers, making sure our health department had the resources they needed, making sure the Office of Equity that I led the charge on creating, was there to make sure we had an equitable response to COVID-19. But we're not out of the woods yet. We still have a lot more to do. I know it's possible because I've seen it. I've seen it in North Long Beach. I've seen it in our city workers over the past 2 years. And what will get us out of this pandemic, get our economy back on track, get our unhoused neighbors off the street, is by working together. So I believe in the spirit of Long Beach, that spirit of unity and collaboration. As mayor, I'm going to bring that spirit of unity and collaboration to our entire city. Thanks so much.
Before we get started with our first question, a quick note to the candidates. Our sound engineers asked if you'd speak right into the microphone. It would help them out a lot. Okay. All right, so our first question will go to Franklin Sims. And each candidate will have a chance to answer every single question. Okay? So Mr. Sims, what is your vision for balancing the push for STEM education and initiatives like Space Beach with arts education and encouraging students to enter careers in the arts?
When it comes to education, we've got to tap into our parks. Now, as mayor, we have our own school board separate from city council. But if we tap into our parks with education, not just STEM and not just Space Beach and not just art, but we also need to be using our parks to teach our kids life skills. The problem in Long Beach is we're having a brain drain. We're graduating children and students, even from Cal State Long Beach, and they can't stay in the city because they can't afford to live here. So we've got to give them those life skills while they're growing up so that they can stay here in the city and thrive and do well. We can do that through our park system, so our kids are always learning, not only through the school year, but over the summer. That's going to take an investment, but if we make it, we won't always be having these conversations about equity and resources and gang violence. We have to make that investment, and our city's going to be a lot stronger.
Mr. Rodriguez.
I think it's okay, there we go. So STEM education is very important, especially at a young age. I totally agree that students should have the ability to, especially younger kids like my 5-year-old, to be introduced into STEM, sciences, and core classes throughout their life. Things that I want to bring back as well are mechanic shops. Like we forgot about technical jobs, plumbing, AC repair. Everyone wants to focus on college for students that graduate, but we forget about the high-paying professional jobs like plumbing, AC, all these jobs, electricians, welding, and those jobs are more effective because some people don't know what they want when they go to college, and so we need to start focusing on classes like that. On classes like that, so we can have a better workforce, a larger workforce, and people have the opportunity to later go on into college, not going into debt, but most of them can actually pay for their own school. Thank you.
Mr. Cedillo.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So as an educator, I always tell my students it's very important to follow their dreams and to explore other opportunities that are out there. So much like these gentlemen here, as they mentioned, it's important for them to see that it's not just university coursework that's important. There's also an importance of learning a trade. And that's where the city needs to be focused on, is giving these young people the opportunity to learn a trade, job placement opportunities within the city. The city also needs to prioritize hiring local, no more people from outside. We have plenty of colleges here and people being educated here. Why should they have to leave? Why should they have to go to LA or Irvine or somewhere else? It's really important that we inspire our children and also invest in youth programs to give them that inspiration to be the next leader, to be the next mayor or council member or what have you. We need to take that role, take the reins, and really make a change, drive the change here in Long Beach.
Ms. Moser.
STEM education is extremely important to help keep ourselves competitive in the world that we live in. It's important at a young age, I believe, to focus on STEM. That helps teach you to learn. It's going to be skills that will help you to excel in high school and through college. Or if you take the route to a vocational school, you're still going to need to know math. You're still going to need to know science. And those are all really important things that I think needs to be heightened. I know that there needs to be a balance with the arts, of course, but I do really believe that STEM education is extremely important at a very young age. And as a math minor myself, yes, it's helped me enormously. And again, I think it's important to stay competitive, so I would focus on making sure that our programs provide a basis for children to move through the educational system or vocational system, and that we don't allow no child left behind to really allow us to progress children that have not properly learned some basic skills that they're going to need. Thank you.
Hey, Mr. Richardson.
Thank you. I'll say that no two children are the same. My two daughters are very, very different. And we have to not forget about arts. It's not just STEM, it's STEAM. Sometimes captivating the mind is that, hey, it's including arts into this. I have two daughters. They're doing coding online through USC. I think we need to have coding available in every youth center in our city. When we built the Michelle Obama Neighborhood Library, we included the Family Learning Center with 3D printers that exposes people to, through our Love Public Library Foundation, exposes young people to technology. I have a platform on economic development. If you see it, it talks about investing in aerospace and transportation and technology to fuel the future and building pipelines. We're doing that today. We just voted the city council to establish a pipeline. 300 kids out of the Office of Youth Development, which is placed at Houghton Park at the Ron Arias Health Equity Center, that are taking kids directly out of our community and creating job opportunities and training pipelines into Space Beach. We have an incredible city with tremendous resources, but we have to think about how we align and galvanize those resources to create a meaningful difference and opportunities for the youth of our community. So as mayor, I'm going to make sure we have a top tier focus on youth development in our city that focuses on STEM and STEAM. Thanks so much.
Ms. Price.
Thank you. To your question, is my mic working? To your question specifically, STEM is absolutely important, and we have a lot of infrastructure that's already in place and continuing to grow in regards to STEM. But what we're doing to incorporate arts more at an early stage into the education system is definitely where we have an area for opportunity. I had a chance last night, those of you who know me know it's probably my attorney background, but I read a lot of white papers and I read a lot of research on things that help me shape my policy decisions on issues before the city. And there's an organization, Art Place America. They've done a ton of white papers on the intersectionality of art and various industries. Art and health, art and business, art and education, and all of the different ways that art can be involved in the everyday sectors that we have. And I think about Long Beach Unified School District, having 2 boys that went through the school district and are currently in the school district. I can tell you programs that we do where we take them to Musical Theater West, where we take them to the Ranchos, to Long Beach Museum of Art, expose them early into the arts and give them a pathway forward if they're interested in the arts. You look at teachers like Mr. Hamilton who provide advanced band classes that get kids scholarships to colleges based on their introduction to music and music education. We have to foster additional opportunities like that early at the Long Beach Unified School District. And I'll work very hard to do that because I think it's really important for us to support things like the internships that the Arts Council provides every summer. Those are all critical for early intervention.
Thank you. So we're ready to move on to our second question. We will begin with Joshua Rodriguez. And the question is, as the mayor does not vote, but you can veto or break a tie, describe how you would balance community concerns, staff considerations, and your personal values and viewpoint to determine the outcome of an issue.
Thank you. So as mayor, it's not about me, it's about representing you. And so each city council, I will speak with each council member to determine what direction the city needs to go to. We obviously, within reason, have to go that way. And so I know that I represent the voters of the city, and that's what's important to me. And I will also walk around the city and speak with people, have meetings for any large topics or anything that's on the agenda before it's even voted on, because it's important that we get feedback from you first. Thank you.
Mr. Cedillo.
I see this position as a position that requires 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, which to me means that there would be lines of communication between myself and community members, the council members. If we're not seeing eye to eye on some of the subjects that we're talking about, I understand the council members may represent one small district, but as a people, we also need to look at the greater good. We need to have a government that works for all. At the last election, only 15% of registered voters actually came out to vote. So that means that anything going on within the city, it may be working for that 15%, but not for the other 85%. Did we take them into consideration? I don't think so. And that's what we need to be looking at. Some of the young people I talk to in high school, they tell me, I don't like our government. I don't like the way things are going. And I tell them, well, then you need to be heard as well. I know that you may not be able to cast a vote, but your voice matters to me as well. Immigrants, same thing. You are here. You are paying taxes. You are contributing to our society, but you can't cast a vote. Your voice matters to me too. Everybody matters in Long Beach. And that's who we need to work for. And that's what council members need to see. If I need to go to your house, knock on your door at midnight, hey, I'll take a case of beer or some coffee. I don't know, but we're going to talk it over and we're going to work for the greater good. Thank you.
It's important. I don't have a vote as mayor. I won't have a vote as mayor. My job is going to be to make sure that each of the districts have the resources so they can do what they want to do in their local area. And that's different for every district. I would want to see more people engage in city council. I would like to hear people come and speak, and lots of reasons that people don't vote or don't show up and engage in the political process. And I think that needs to change. The people need to let their district, their city council people know what it is they want, what it is they need, and let me know how I can help to facilitate that by bringing more resources so that we can do all of the things that we want to do. And I really think that that you need to listen to each individual person, and I really would try to get more people to engage in the process to begin with, because too many people just don't know what's going on in Long Beach, or they are not even aware. How many people are even aware that the Queen Mary isn't even open? So I think educating people in Long Beach about what's going on, what processes they can do to actually change things, and I would probably vote with the people, I believe, more than anything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I know. Thank you. I was on hand in 2010 when the city budget cut paramedic rescue 12. The city councils were packed, meeting was packed, there were folks there to save the municipal band, and I absolutely support the arts, but no one was there to say, hey, don't cut paramedic rescue 12 in North Long Beach. The effect was 3 minutes slower response times. But the problem was that nobody in North Long Beach was in the council meeting that day when that cut happened. And so I've committed to a community empowerment model. That's how I learned from Steve Mills as chief of staff, and that's how I've governed, by helping community-based organizations and neighborhood associations. And we see that it has actually worked. We brought a city council meeting all the way to Houghton Park so they can see the conditions of the Houghton Park Community Center. Today, it's the doorstops Elder Community Center. We have to empower the people. I brought participatory budgeting to Long Beach. That's where you take a portion of the public budget and you teach the residents how to actually budget that money and take a direct vote on how it's spent. And so I believe in community empowerment. If you don't have a seat at the table, you'll end up on the menu. The budget is a reflection of our city's values. We have to make sure the people are present as we make budget decisions. Thank you so much.
Ms. Price.
Thank you. So I think for me, the most important thing is going to be communication. I've been for 8 years now focused on how we outreach and communicate with residents before the votes are counted, before the items are on the agenda and decisions have been made. That's been really critical, I think, for getting people engaged early. We have an email that goes out every Tuesday night, before Tuesday night, to about 20,000 residents, letting them know what's going to be on the agenda, allowing them to be involved. Communication has been critical. As mayor, I would make sure that the diversity of this city is reflected in the diversity of the thoughts, the opinions, and the council members that sit behind the dais. I think it's really important for us to not get in a place where we're in a groupthink mentality where everybody has to always align behind a particular thought or idea. This city is way too diverse for that to happen. So I would encourage as mayor for everyone to have the freedom to be able to express their concerns without judgment on behalf of the districts that have elected them. That's critical to us being able to reflect the true diversity of our city. As mayor, I'll continue to have our monthly meetings like I do right now with the community where the entire city would be invited. I would also continue to send out emails with updates regarding everything that's coming up on the council so that the residents can be involved. And I think I'd be very engaged in quality of life type of issues, which I have been as a council member. I would use that as a template when I'm the mayor, because I think it's important for the council members to know that their mayor is engaged at that granular level. Thank you.
Mr. Sims.
Guys, look, I don't pull punches. The idea that the Long Beach mayor doesn't have a lot of power because he can only veto, that's not what's going on here. Let's talk about Long Beach politics 101. The bottom line is the mayor has a lot of power. The lobbyists, the developers would not be investing multi-million dollars into the top two candidates' campaigns if the mayor's office was only ceremonial. The bottom line is this: the mayor receives most of the money from the lobbyists and the developers and the special interests. Then what happens is that while council members can vote, if any of those council members get out of line, they're going to have hell to pay, because those same lobbyists and developers are going to send out mailers, even if it's not election time, to those council members to threaten them to get them kicked out of office should they vote their conscience. This happened to council member Al Austin, and he learned his lesson. When I'm mayor, I'm not going to take that money, so we can finally have a council that's going to stand up for us. The mayor's got a lot of power, and it's coming from the money, and it's corrupted. And if we don't get in front of that, and if we're not going to talk about that on this stage, then we don't benefit you, and we do you a disservice, we do my daughter a disservice, we do our families a disservice.
So we are ready for a new question. Mr. Cedillo, you will be going first. There has been broad support for the restoration of the Colorado Lagoon. How and what is your level of support towards its completion?
I think anything that helps us expand our green spaces, which have been very limited, is something that we definitely need to be working on. One of our main concerns as running for mayor is what we are doing to the environment. And it's not just restoration, but it's also seizing or stopping all the oil production that we have in the city. All offshore drilling must stop. The things that our children care about, and I hear about all the time, is about, for example, when I was growing up, there was something that is called Trash Island. I'm sure you've all heard of it. When I was in high school, this was 20 years ago, by the way, 20 years ago, Trash Island was about the size of Texas. Today, it's twice that size. And it's because we haven't prioritized our environment and caring for the earth. And that's something that we really need to be taking a hard look at and making sure that we're working to save the earth. Thank you so much.
Ms. Moser.
Our green space in Long Beach is extremely important to our quality of life. We need to finish the Colorado Lagoon Park, and we need to use that model to do more in every district. I think I see a future of Long Beach where everybody in every neighborhood can walk outside without having to drive and get to some sort of park or outside space. It's extremely important for the beauty of Long Beach, for our mental health, exercise, everything. I believe that needs to be a focus, and making sure that every neighborhood, rich or poor, has a place that they can walk to and access green space and be outside. And I would definitely encourage that we finish that project as soon as possible.
Thank you. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you. I support the Colorado Lagoon. I also want to acknowledge the deep inequity we have in our city. We have a 17-year difference in life expectancy, depending on whether you live close to a freeway or far away from a freeway if you're born in our city. There's a direct relationship to the lack of open space on the west part of town to the east part of town. So while I support the Colorado Lagoon, the big challenge is how we shrink that inequity and build more open space, particularly where we have density of where people live. It's a challenge, but it's possible. I've seen what's possible. In North Long Beach, we worked together and we restored 40 acres of open space. There's a nature center at DeForest Park with turtles and ducks where we used to find meth labs. There's an environmental stewardship center under construction where Conservation Corps is moving their base of operation along the LA River to teach young people stewardship and conservation. It's possible, but we have to make sure that our budget reflects our values as a city. It's not okay for us to have deep inequity of 17-year difference in life expectancy when there are things that we can do about it today. So yes, I support Colorado Lagoon. I also support DeForest Gap, DeForest Wetlands. I support Dominguez Gap. I support the LA River. I support the things that we need to do to create healthy and safe communities for everyone in our city. Thank you.
Ms. Price.
Thank you. So I'm fortunate to be the council person that is currently overseeing the Colorado Lagoon Open Channel Project. And let me just start by saying you will never hear me take credit for work that was done way before me that I have the honor and the privilege to help close out. So the Friends of Colorado Lagoon, Congressman Lowenthal, Mayor Garcia, Gary DeLong, Frank Colonna, these people helped set the stage for what we are now seeing as a huge transformation of water quality at the Colorado Lagoon. We made some improvements when we added some eelgrass and added oxygenation to the water and more marine life, but unless we connect it to the open channel, the Colorado Lagoon will not continue to thrive, and it will not continue to be a place where people can recreate and have it be the amazing asset that it is in the city of Long Beach. It is the first coastal mitigation bank in the state of California, which is huge, and I'm privileged to have had the opportunity to learn the expertise of having a coastal mitigation bank. I fully support the project. I fully support its completion, and I will tell you, absolutely, we need to invest in projects throughout the city, but we should never criticize one project in the name of equity. We should always support every project in this city fully with our budget and make sure that every community is being served in the best way possible when it comes to rehabilitation of incredible incredible assets throughout the city, regardless of what part of the city that they're in. Our commitment as council members and my commitment as mayor will be to the entire city without judgment and helping every district thrive. And the Colorado Lagoon is one such great project.
Mr. Sims.
You guys here? You guys? Mic check, mic check. All right. You guys hear what's going on? What just happened? Susie and Rex are talking about equity and the fact that we are fighting over resources in Long Beach. And the fear is that whoever you elect as mayor is maybe not going to fund the Colorado Lagoon, or they're going to be more concerned about the DeForest Park wetlands than they are about other communities. That's what this is about. We need a mayor that's independent. We need a mayor that can bridge us. You heard and you saw what happened during redistricting. It got ugly. The city was so divided on racial lines. When I'm driving through Perseverance and on the west side, I see so many signs in people's yards. Not for me, not for Susie, not for Rex, not for Josh. I see signs about park equity. They want green space. Those are the signs I see on the west side because the babies on the west side are being born too small. We've got big issues, but we need a bridge and not bickering. I can give you that. I'm that bridge, I'm that political shakeup that needs to happen in this city. Because if it doesn't happen, we're going to have more of this. And we need more love. And that's how our city's going to grow and be strong and thrive. Not the bickering. We need the bridge.
Just a reminder to our candidates, please respond just to the question and not to the remarks of your fellow candidates. Mr. Rodriguez, you're next, please.
Thank you. So I do support the Colorado Lagoon project. It's part of our infrastructure, and that's one of our responsibility as government is to take care of those things. To fund those projects that revitalize those parks or keep them up to date and maintained. I think we actually should allow people to garden in most of our parks because we have some space in there. So community gardens would also help the community come together and use those parks a lot more often. So we have more focus on that. And on top of that, not only do I want to maintain these green spaces in these parks, but I want to stop the overdevelopment with SB 9, which eventually will encroach on those publicly owned lands, and we know they're gonna try to develop them. So we have to stand firm against that so we don't overdevelop in Long Beach to keep it as beautiful as it is now. Thank you.
Moving on to our next question. Ms. Moser, you'll be first to answer this one. Do you support adding additional police officers to the Long Beach Police Department? And if you do, how would you pay for them versus funding other priorities such as keeping libraries open 7 days a week?
Okay, that's kind of... Yes, I support hiring more police. I think we're way down. We have a public safety issue in Long Beach right now, and I really do support building up our police force. How would I pay for it? I think it's a priority that we have public safety. My plans for reforming the roles of police in Long Beach will actually cut costs and help save some money so that we can hire the right staff, so we have the right amount of police for the city. So I don't really think that I would have to, nor would I take anything from the budget. I would look at a creative way to redistribute the responsibilities so that we could afford to put on the number of police officers that we need. We have two great institutions. We've got educational institutions. We've got Cal State Long Beach, the City College. They can all be really good sources for training and recruiting. And we need to make the role of the police officer in Long Beach one that is viewed as being more respectable or more acceptable so that we won't be stuck having difficulty getting proper recruits. And people are just not entering police service as much as they were before. So I think it's threefold, and I think, thank you. Sorry.
Thank you. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you so much. I represent North Long Beach, and I'll tell you, what do our residents want? The same things everyone wants, a healthy and safe community. But I will say that if you want a healthy and safe community, you have to invest in the communities that haven't been healthy or safe. The concept of not investing in the communities that are not healthy and safe is contrary to the goal of what we need to accomplish. So yes, we need a healthy, well-resourced police department and fire department and parks that are safe with after-school programs, libraries like the Michelle Obama Neighborhood Library that offers resources. No one wants to be a victim of violent crime. Statistically, people between the ages of 16 and 26 are the most likely to be victims of violent crime. So we have to invest in our youth and make sure they have world-class opportunities. So as mayor, I'm gonna look upstream and downstream. Upstream, keep people from falling into the river to begin with. Put up those fences and make sure that we have investments in youth opportunity and safe communities. And downstream, we need to have well-resourced public safety, because that's our core responsibility of government, but we need to do it in a way that is comprehensive and healthy and smart. Thank you.
Ms. Price.
Thank you. I would absolutely support adding more police officers to our police force for a number of reasons. We're down about 250 officers, but it's actually more than that because we've allotted several to the Metro line and the port and LBCC and other assignments where we haven't replaced them. And the data is very clear. For a city of our size and demographic, police presence and consistent response times does deter crime. The number one issue in every district that I talk to right now is safety. Absolutely, we need to invest in our police department, but we also need to invest in training and education and best practices for them, because there's very few industries where a mistake by a police officer, a prosecutor, or a judge can impact a person or their community. And we need to invest in early intervention programs for the youth. Those things are a package. How would we pay for it? In terms of more police officers, my recommendation is that we offer retention incentives for officers that are on the cusp of retirement so that we can keep those officers employed as the new officers time for our police department and ability to respond. In terms of libraries and other services, I was the council person who championed Sunday library hours. It is a wonderful thing and I'm so supportive of it, but we are going to have to make difficult decisions and make priority decisions based on what the people need. And our crime rates, unfortunately, our homicide rate is 101% up from last year, and we have to focus on that.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sims.
Guys, we don't have enough police officers to respond to violent crime in Long Beach. The homicide at Rosie's Dog Park took the police almost 9 minutes to get there. The homicide in Carmelitos took the police almost 10 minutes to get there. We don't have enough officers, but we have to talk turkey and we've got to be honest. Why don't we? It's because we don't have enough officers, primarily because of the police officers union. The police officers union put so many millions of dollars and told us in Measure A that we're going to get you more officers. Then after they passed Measure A, the money went to salaries. The money went to overtime. Because when they look at the calculus and they have to decide between hiring more officers versus more overtime and higher salaries, they go for that. Until we have a mayor who is not accepting money from the Police Officers Association and can sit at the other end of that negotiation table and say, no, I'm not standing for it because you didn't pay me off anyway. And I don't have to listen to you. I have to listen to the mothers and the families of Long Beach. Once we have that, we can change this city. But if we don't, if we continue along the same path that we have for 8 years, then we're going to continue to be talking about, well, what are we going to do about policing in Long Beach? Fix it, guys. Put the right leaders into office. Fix it.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you. So I'm a police officer. Obviously, we need 250 officers here in the city, and we need to incentivize officers to stay here. We're losing officers to not only retirement, but they're leaving the city to other agencies, to other states. They don't feel like the community really appreciates them, and that their government is, calling them racist when half our department is Hispanic Latino. So we gotta cut that out. We support officers when they do a good job, and when someone makes a mistake, they're held accountable, and that's fine. In terms of the library services, that is a critical infrastructure to me, so we have to find a way to fund it. Right now, we're at a $56 million deficit, so we're backwards. Hopefully we can get Dan Miles as our auditor so we can find that money that's missing, because it appears there's money that's elsewhere that's being misspent. But again, we have critical things that we have to spend money on, and policing is important, libraries are very important, and so instead of digging in your pockets, because that's one thing that led us to being backwards, Measure M was ruled unconstitutional, and now the city owes $30 million back to all the ratepayers, which is great. But again, it should have never been passed in the first place. They were told it was unconstitutional. So I would seek to sell naming rights for critical infrastructure to corporations to bring some income. Hopefully that they would have some buy-in in there, but that money can be directed to maintain that infrastructure, to bring money back into the city so we don't have to cut any services. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Cedillo.
I think when it comes to crime, it's very important that we take a good look at the root
Focus to light of so many issues that impact all of us in a way that brings people together. And as we're thinking about the city of Long Beach, we have to take advantage of ways that we can activate art throughout the city and make places and spaces that celebrate art and bring us together in a way to unify us, not divide us. I think about things like our live music events throughout the city of Long Beach. Every district has embraced live music events throughout their district. Public art spaces. In the 3rd district, we have the Red Car Greenbelt. We're going to have a public art installation really soon. And the community was very involved in that whole process. We think about the ways that we're working towards incorporating art into everything that we do and how that helps transform communities. Things like Powwow, it's not about the mural, it's about the process of bringing people together and bringing artists from all over here to interact. We have the opportunity as a city to take vacant spaces and turn them into art exhibits, to incorporate art in everything that we do so that it's a way of bringing us together. Right now, the #1 placemaking challenge that we have is creating spaces where people want to go and walk and experience art and feeling safe and feeling like they have the vibrancy in the community to do that. As mayor, that is a major focus, and having an art ambassador will be critical to that.
Thank you. Mr. Sims.
Hello, there we go. After the calamity of the George Floyd protest downtown, the arson, you guys saw the city being boarded up. But it was the artists of Long Beach, and even outside of Long Beach, they descended on this city and they gave us beauty from the ashes of Phoenix. That's what they did. I remember the debate between Mayor Garcia and Damon Dunn. And the Arts Council asked, what are you going to do for art? And Damon said, you know what? I want to bring an arts festival in Long Beach like they have in Austin, Texas. That didn't happen. Damon didn't become mayor. I remember Mayor Garcia saying, well, I'm going to support the Arts Council and support art in Long Beach. Art is not taken seriously in Long Beach. By the bus stops, you'll see these little like electrical boxes. Sometimes they'll have artists do some work there. Come on, guys. We have serious artists in this city, and they're not being taken seriously. We have an artist that did the sculpture of Dr. Martin Luther King. That sculpture was vandalized with Nazi symbols, and our city council didn't have the decency to repair it like he asked them to. We're not taking art seriously in this city. That's why you need to vote for Franklin Sims. I'm actually at the top of the ballot. I'm the first name. It's real easy. I'm serious about this.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you. So arts are very important to me. I'm actually a choir and band nerd. Middle school, I played saxophone, so very important to me. We go throughout the city, we see a lot of murals throughout the city and beautiful murals everywhere. Like I said, I lived off of Broadway and Elm. We had murals right next door at one of the hotels. And so we want to bring music and culture to the city. We love music and culture here in the city, having more concerts, especially concerts in the park throughout the city. And so through our education system, I want to get our children involved in that, so we keep a focus on those things that bring us together. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Cedillo.
The arts are extremely important. I actually grew up in an area that didn't take it very seriously. And what I'll tell you about that is that I'm actually a self-taught guitar player. But don't think that I have a very deep repertoire. If anything, maybe I can just play the Star Spangled Banner. But it's very important that we give it the importance that it needs. Right now, as a matter of fact, I'm wearing a t-shirt. This t-shirt was made by a local artist here from Long Beach. He designed it for me. He said, "I'd like to make you a t-shirt." I said, "I'd love that. Thank you so much." I fell in love with it. I added at the bottom, it says, "Break the chains." That's what the campaign is about. It's about breaking the chains and making a difference in the city. And it's important that we give our young artists that opportunity, our writers, our singers, our poets, our artists that can paint murals. One of my favorite writers, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, I don't know if you're all familiar with him, but he actually said once, he said, "I never thought I could make a living doing this. I just did it because I enjoy it, and then someone offered me money." And that's how he got started. And we have many artists here that need that opportunity. We need to give them a look. We need to look them up and give them a platform to get their artistry out and make Long Beach bigger than it is. Get us on the map. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Moser.
Arts are very important, both to Long Beach and to me. I worked for years with the Lackawanna Project Council as well, and I'm trying to raise money, fundraising. I believe that art can drive recovery. I also, personally, I produce cultural festivals, music concerts, and art events myself. And I am working on a large project, July 30th, at the port. This is outside investment. There is no reason that we can't continue to invest in arts. We can bring in public, private, outside investment. I work myself to produce festivals, events, things that will bring people into Long Beach, stay in our hotels, eat in our great restaurants, enjoy the beautiful coastline. And so I'm basically putting my money where my mouth is as far as arts go. I think it's very important. As a matter of fact, my logo was done by a local graffiti tattoo artist as well. So I do believe in bringing, that Long Beach has a really unique flavor artistically, and I'm going to promote that as much as I can. Thank you.
All right, so our next question is a follow-up to that one, and we're just going to do this lightning round. I'm going to start with Ms. Price, and I want each person to just will go down the row and give us your answer. So what is the most recent arts event you have attended?
Concert in the park in the 3rd District last Sunday.
Mr. Sims?
Concert in the park.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Same thing, concert in the park.
Okay. Mr. Cedillo?
Hamilton in LA.
Ms. Moser?
The same.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Mr. Richardson?
Long Beach Symphony Pops.
Okay. All right, so next question. We have received several questions regarding 5G, cell towers in neighborhoods in front on people's lawns. Have all environmental considerations been properly settled, and do you support this rollout? We'll begin with Mr. Sims.
I was at that city council meeting, and I do not believe that all environmental considerations have been considered, and they should be. Guys, we have a pattern in the city. When issues come to council, they're not thoroughly discussed, and they end up passing things that we don't get a voice on. And some of it is because you guys just don't even know what's going on. You've become so jaded and so disengaged, it's like whatever. So the health concerns from 5G when I was there were like a few activists there talking about it, and they would raise these concerns, and I'm listening like, oh my gosh, what is this? But it's been the same way with petroleum tanks by the port. There were close to 2 elementary schools. You see a lot of politics played. But the bottom line is you have to have leaders that are going to open up the discourse and engage you, or you guys really aren't going to know what's going to happen. And a lot of times the lobbyists have already paid and contacted the campaigns, and the vote goes through, and it's not in your best interest.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you. So I'm going to be honest, I don't know much about the 5G rollout, but you know what's important, like I mentioned earlier, we need to speak to every single district and have community meetings on something like this. If there are adverse reactions or health problems from 5G, then we need to be mindful of that and say, no. If it's going to damage us, and we're going to get cancer from this, something like that, we're going to have to say no, because we can't afford to keep getting sick from these new integrations of technology. That is it worth it? I don't think it's worth it, especially in the long run if those are the causes. But if it's something that's not going to be detrimental to our health and safety, then yes, of course, we need to roll it out because technology is important. Thank you.
And Mr. Cedillo.
I think when something like this comes up, it's very important that we look at it from every angle possible and really take a hard look at what the effects will be. I think sometimes we put it on fast track simply because it's going to bring in profit. And the problem with that is that we're putting profit over people, and that's not the way government should be working for us. It should be putting people over profits. People are way more important than money. Secondly, if it gets put through and then it does have adverse effects on the population, guess what? The city's going to be paying the repercussions. Are going to pay the price when those lawsuits start coming in. I got cancer because of you. I got this because of you. My life got shortened. I lost family members because of this measure or because of this movement that you made. And we need to take account into the voice of the people. They are what matter, and they are the ones that we should be looking at.
Ms. Moser?
Well, I don't think that the 5G rollout has been well thought out. Do people even know if it's dangerous or harmful or not? I can look it up and Google it, and it's a conspiracy, or some people think it's the government trying to control us. I think there needs to be education. There needs to be research. We need to make a final determination on what the outcomes will be when we roll out this technology. And one other thing, I get the letters all the time. I have a 5G tower right out in front of my complex, and I got a letter, and I was told that I could go in and express my concerns, and I had neighbors that did the same thing and wrote letters and got stuff together and went to the city, and they were ignored. And they went ahead and put the sign, not right on one post down. That was their resolution. I don't really know what the long-term impact of 5G is going to be. But what I do know is if the city keeps putting these up, or they're rolled out in a way that makes people suspicious or scared or not understanding the technology, then it is damaging them. If there's something out inside your house, in front of your house, and you don't understand what the long-term ramifications of it are going to be, then definitely that's going to impact the quality of life. And we need to know for sure what the impact will be of this technology.
Mr. Richardson.
Thanks. I know a great deal about this topic. I work for one of the largest telecommunication infrastructure providers in America, and what I'll tell you is there's a great deal of misinformation and education that needs to take shape. The reality is, during the pandemic, we saw a great digital divide. People who had access to broadband, their students were able to go to school from home. But let's say you lived in an apartment and you had poor access to Wi-Fi. So you're using a mobile hotspot. Those don't connect to the fiber that's connected to your home. That connects to a small cell node or a tower somewhere. Well, that's the way the great majority of folks in certain parts of town actually connect to the internet. And during the pandemic, you saw multiple people working and going to school at home at the same time. So the city sprung into action, giving out laptops and Chromebooks and community college and everyone to try to get people connected. Well, the infrastructure is what connects all of that. And so I don't do that work here in Long Beach, but I do digital divide work around the region. And the Long Beach needs to protect our people by leading with education. Make sure communities know and understand that 1G was voice, 2G was text, 3G was data. Send someone a photo. 4G was getting the internet on your phone. So what is 5G? All 5G is connecting the Internet of Things. A smartwatch, an autonomous vehicle, the next step of economic development is essentially what it sets the grounding for. And so the city and Public Works should do all that they can to educate the public about what this is. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Price.
Thank you. So to answer your question, the number one issue that we have gotten over the last 2 years, beside the vaccine and COVID, has been in the area of 5G. The rollout was incredibly poor because residents had no idea what it was. They weren't educated. They were concerned about what they were reading about health impacts. And the city hadn't done enough front loading of what this process was going to look like and what the appeals process was. And so we started it, we rolled it out, and then we had to take some steps back and realize that, whoa, the community's not been involved in this conversation. So I'm proud that as a council person for the 3rd District, I held community meetings on the topic. We brought in the experts to talk about what the data shows. We presented findings from white papers in regards to some of the health concerns that people had. And at the end of the day, there's still a large number of people who don't believe the science and the data and what the city employees that are experts in this field are telling them about 5G, but at least they had an opportunity to hear about it at a community meeting and ask the questions that they had. And to me, it's all about education. If the process is poor, then the outcome doesn't even matter. It's more important to have a process that's inclusive, where people feel like they can answer questions and ask about an expert area that they don't have any knowledge on, than it is what the outcome of that process is. And our process for 5G rollout was so poor. The appeals process was not articulated clearly. The fees associated, not articulated clearly.
Thank you. All right, next question. Many families have to save all year long to afford summer care for school-age kids. There are so few spots at PRM camps. What solutions do you propose to solve this challenge? And we'll begin with Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you. So currently LBUSD has about $450 million inside of a bank account. And I think we need to start utilizing that to fund some of these projects, because I think more school for kids will keep them out of trouble. And I think we shouldn't just leave it in the bank account. Obviously we want some type of reserves, but it has to be within reason. $450 million is out of reason. So that's primarily what kept me out of trouble through school. And I grew up in Lancaster, and honestly, my education experience was horrific. And I wish I had more opportunities to join sports, but we couldn't even afford the equipment to play baseball or tennis or anything, or play golf or go on the trips. And so I was even lucky to even go on a trip with the choir, and I was in advanced choir. So I think those things are important, and we should fund those, because we need more emphasis on school for children versus having more time with the gang members trying to get them into criminal activity. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Cedillo.
It's really important that we take a good hard look at our current budget and what we are prioritizing as a city. And our main priority should be the needs of the people, and in this case, the needs of our youth, the needs of our children. This is the future of our city. Your children, your grandchildren, the kids that sit in my classroom every morning, I have to look at them and I think about their futures, and I think what I say to them is going to stay with them forever. So I need to be a good influence. And it's important that once I take office as mayor, that our budget also prioritize their needs, and that we meet those needs by providing them the services and the inspiration that they need to continue to be our future leaders. And we can't depend on LBUSD to make those decisions. They have their own board, they have their own system. They're not controlled by the mayor, unfortunately. And most of the people over there aren't really even educators that are on that board. Just thought I'd throw that in. But anyway, what I will say is that we have parks, we have libraries. We can use those as open spaces for our children. Bring in educators, bring in people that will help them develop and not just look at our city, but also to raise questions and say, I don't want to be a conformist. I don't want things to continue the way they are in my city. Things need to change. We need rebels.
Ms. Moser.
Would you please restate the question?
Yes. Many families have to save all year long to afford summer care for school-aged kids. There are so few spots at the PRN camps. What solutions do you propose to solve this challenge?
Well, early education and summer programs they solve numerous problems. They keep children off the streets. Early childhood education helps them further along. And also we have working parents that during the summer when their kids are off, you need to have a place where they can go every day. And yeah, it's really expensive. I was fortunate enough that I was able to have these programs for my children, and I saw what it did for them. And I realized that it needs to be a priority. Our children need to be a priority, their education, and how, helping working parents so that they don't have to deal with the stress or, saving up all year for that. That's a priority the city needs to take. If we're not willing to invest in our children, keeping them safe, educating them, and on their welfare, then what are we spending our money on? And I really think that we should have city-supported, we can have public-private ventures that can provide these resources for families.
Thank you. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So as a dad, I saw what happened during the pandemic. We were all living and working and going to school in the very same place. But my wife and I, we had resources. We were able to bring in folks and turn the backyard into a classroom. If you don't have that, the pandemic had a more significant impact on low-income families. And so, to me, childcare is an economic imperative. It's important that the city play its part. As a part of my economic recovery plan, you'll see that childcare is listed as a focus of our city. I think we have the resources and the partnerships to make sure that every 4-year-old in our entire city has access to early childhood education, that we partner with our libraries and Pacific Gateway to make sure childcare is available. During the pandemic, we did it. We partnered with Cambrian Home Care and Pacific Gateway Workforce Investment Network to stand up an in-home childcare providers program for the first time in our city. The government led on this. And so you'll see as a part of my platform, join rexrichardson.com/economic recovery. We are framing childcare, after-school programs, summer programs as an economic imperative and a part of our strategy to ensure that we have an inclusive recovery from this pandemic while we get our economy back on track. Thank you.
Ms. Price.
Thank you. So as a working mom, I can tell you that summer plans for your children is the biggest source of stress for any working parent. It's really difficult to find appropriate programs. And I think the way that we enhance our capacity in the city of Long Beach is one, making sure that we have more subsidized programs that are based on a sliding scale of what people can afford, but two, partnering more with our nonprofits. We have a lot of great nonprofits. I'm a YMCA kid. I was raised by a single mom, and I was in YMCA every summer. And I think we have a lot of nonprofit organizations throughout the city that we have the capacity to partner with. Last year, we launched in the 3rd District our first ever equity rowing program. We have amazing opportunities in this city for scholarships for kids that are going to go to college, but they don't have access. They don't have the funds to participate in a lot of programs like rowing. And so we offered a program where we partnered with the Long Beach Rowing Association and brought a free summer camp. We had 20 students in the program, and one of them is a scholarship recipient, and she got 1 year's tuition, which was valued at $15,000 to participate in a club rowing program, and she's a Poly High student headed to Harvard because of her participation in rowing. So I'm super proud of that. But as a city, we need to figure out how to partner with our nonprofits to enhance the capacity for summer programming and invest in things like our junior lifeguard program that doubled its capacity from the last 8 years and has a huge diversified group of students that are participating. Childcare is absolutely an economic issue. Thank you.
Mr. Sims.
If we don't partner with the nonprofits and bring in childcare over the summer to Long Beach, the impact is really deep. And we have to really look at it and think of it comprehensively, because what we're talking about is parents want to stay here in Long Beach. To do that, they have to afford to be here. To do that, they have to go to work. You can't be at work and be productive if you don't feel like your kids are in a safe space. Now, when I've been just in campaigning and going throughout the city, I meet a lot of people throughout the city who are from the King Park area. And what they say to me is like, they say, Franklin, when I was a kid, it was the King Park saved me. They said we had food to eat because that park fed us. And everyone from our community came there because we needed food to eat. Then they also, the experiences that they had there, they're like, I got my first job through the Long Beach parks. That's where we have to go back to. If we don't go back to that, then we're not going to foster the sort of family support that needs to happen in Long Beach. And we're going to continue to have folks that are going to have to leave. I've lost so many friends in Long Beach because of affordability. Childcare is about affordability. And if we tap into that, then we can really, and we can help save our families and our friends and people that we should be doing more for.
All right, so we are now going to move on to our final question. I apologize, we received over 40 really excellent questions covering a variety of topics. I'm so sorry we could not get to them all today. But I do want to thank you for being such a great audience and sending up so many terrific questions. So this question follows up on early childhood education and child care, but it gets more specifically into funding. So we're going to start with Mr. Cedillo. The question is, in 2018, the city adopted the Early Childhood Strategic Plan that highlights the importance of early education and partnering with community agencies. The bulk of this plan has gone largely unfunded. As mayor, what do you see is the city's role in early childhood education, and how will you support the implementation of this plan, ensuring families and children in Long Beach succeed?
As I mentioned earlier, our budget needs to reflect the importance of our people here in Long Beach, and that includes children. Even though they cannot vote, they are still important to each and every one of us. So our funding needs to make sure that we are providing funding for those services: educational, mental health, housing affordability, etc. It's important that we pass a people's budget. And we need to end qualified immunity as well. So what I'm saying here is that we need to make people our focus. It's no longer about profits. I do not take money from corporations, real estate developers, the fossil fuel industry, none of that. Because I am accountable to you, the people, a government of the people, for the people, by the people. So we need to make sure that we're working also with our nonprofits, with our local educators, our libraries, our parks, using those open spaces. I'm sure some of our mom and pops will be very helpful in lending us some of their spaces so that we can educate our children and give them the help that they need. Thank you.
Ms. Moser.
I was blessed to be able to have my children attend Stephen S. Weiss Temple early education program all the way through kindergarten. It was an amazing program, and so good that people that were not Jewish, that were not Temple members, would take their children there. It was a very inspirational program, and we had different ways of funding it. It was sliding scale. We had nonprofits that we would help to fund that for kids that couldn't afford. We provided scholarships so that children could attend. And these programs, even though maybe they were working mothers, weren't working parents, still provided a really, really good base for these children before they enter school. So it really gives them a foundation for success in the future. Again, it needs to be a priority for us to have these programs for children. The money has to, the city can support some of it, and we need to find partnerships, and I've seen that model work very successfully. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Richardson.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll tell you, as a dad, and I had no children when I ran for council. Okay, so two kids, one term. I'll tell you, I understand how important childcare is. It's a force multiplier. It helps the family economically do what they need to do to go to work, but also helps children because early childhood education is a most critical time in their life. It's getting early childhood education before kindergarten, pre-K. And so I'm going to partner with the Mayor's Fund for Education. And we're gonna focus on universal pre-K for every 4-year-old in the city. We costed it out. It cost $3 to $4 million structurally to fund. Okay, we have to be innovative in how we do it. We taxed oil in 2020 and passed Measure US. Guess what? We focus on climate, health, and youth. So that could help identify resources to leverage more philanthropy to identify that $3 to $4 million structural gap to provide universal child care in pre-K. I'm also going to work with our educational institutions. We can't do this alone. We have to partner with Long Beach Unified and partner with the Community College District. I'm proud that the majority of the board members of both boards have endorsed my campaign for mayor. We've worked together since My Brother's Keeper and establishing the Office of Youth Development and the Citywide Youth Fund. And we're going to continue that spirit of unity and collaboration to make sure our city delivers for our families by providing universal pre-K. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Price.
Thank you. So I had the privilege to be a preschool teacher at the Isabel Patterson Child Development Center at Cal State Long Beach. And I'll tell you that programs like that offer subsidized childcare for employees of the university and students of the university are huge in terms of providing some stress and relief for the employees and the students. I think we need to do a similar model in the city of Long Beach by partnering with the port in the complex that we have to offer subsidized childcare. I also think we need to do a better job of partnering with our private businesses. My husband is the vice president at Hydrofacial, which is a locally owned company in the city of Long Beach. They have over 500 employees. We can offer as a city incentives to allow and tax breaks to allow people that are wanting to form in the city of Long Beach as a company in the city of Long Beach to offer childcare on site or to offer some sort of subsidized childcare for their employees. We have no such program right now, and I think we can expedite permits. There are a lot of things that we can do as a city to incentivize a lot of these businesses that are coming here in the industries of maritime and aerospace and arts and entertainment. Tech, these industries are forming here, these companies are coming here, and we can work with them to leverage our assets as a city to ask them to incorporate childcare into their model, into their footprint when they build new buildings here. We're not doing any of that right now. Zero conversation about that. As mayor, I would make that a topic of conversation with every company that wants to establish in the city of Long Beach. I think it's critical to work with our partners to do so.
Mr. Sims.
Guys, so I'm sitting inside of the Economic Development Commission meeting, and they're talking about this issue. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, we have the funding for this. The only reason the funding is not there is because we have sat back and allowed City Council to waste money. $3 million on a soccer turf field. They're wasting money. We've also done this. Property tax in Long Beach is where most of the revenue comes from. But what's happening is that the politicians are voting on things that give tax breaks to people, lobbyists, developers, that are giving money to their campaigns. And they end up giving us a deal where they're not paying the same property taxes that you have to pay. And then we wonder, well, why can't we fund things? Where's the funding for this? Where's the funding for this need? If we don't stop the bleeding, and if we don't get in front of this and elect leaders that are going to stop having wrong relationships with lobbyists and special interests, then you're going to continue to have these same questions, and we're going to come back to the Arts Council in 4 years or 8 years and have the same discussion. But I may not be here then, because I came this time and I'm telling you the truth. The question is, are you going to listen?
Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you. Thank you. So, as I mentioned before, we want to incentivize LBUSD to take that $450,000 and redistribute it to fund some of these programs, on top of the fact that we need to stop spending money throughout the city on things that government are not supposed to be a part of. I'll give you an example. So Measure MA has $2.5 million allocated for racial equity hiring. I think this is a liability to not only the city, but we need to, when people apply, they should just be able to apply on their merit and their experience. And those people get the job. Hopefully they live in Long Beach, and I think we should focus on people that live in Long Beach to get those jobs instead of putting money in different little pockets and funding the things that are important to us, like our children. That's one of the reasons I'm up here. And so, like I said, I'm a product of LA USD and how it was a horrible experience. And so this is important. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move on to closing statements, and we will begin with Mr. Richardson.
Well, first of all, I want to take a moment, just thank the Arts Council and the League of Women Voters for taking the time to invite us out. Of all the candidate forums, this was definitely the coolest, sitting outside and talking with you. I think even the tone of the candidates is really chilled out. I think we need to do this more. Hey, I'm a collaborative leader with a proven track record of results. I do hard work. I work very hard. We had a difficult circumstance in North Long Beach, but I've been a leader, and I'm proud to say that we're leaving our district in a better position than it was where we received it. And we did it by working together, neighborhood leaders and community leaders and council members, and building a coalition around what we have in common and where our interests intersect. I'll tell you, when the big challenges on our doorstep, I leaned in. I leaned in and built the city's first municipal homeless shelter. We did it because our neighborhood said yes in our backyard. We'll do it. I leaned in when our response times were 3 minutes slower than the rest of the city and said, hey, Measure A didn't include Paramedic Rescue 12. We have to fight and advocate. We came to City Hall to make that happen. We said yes and leaned in to equity at a time when national rhetoric would say that we're more divided, but I saw the spirit of our city is the same, and we all care about our city. And we want to make sure that we take care of all of our communities. And so I created the Office of Equity, and we're now making a real meaningful difference, placing an equity lens on the decisions we make. Now the challenges ahead, they are difficult. We have to get our unhoused neighbors off the street. We definitely do. But I believe in our health department and our city employees. I've seen the great work they've done over the last 2 years during this pandemic. And I want to invest in that. We need to do more. We need to localize public health. We need to give them the resources and support that they need. I saw our first responders having significant challenges. We need to support our first responders, firefighters and police officers. We need to support our neighborhoods. Guess what? The impacts are not all the same. And so I want to bring a spirit of collaborative leadership to our entire city. I'll tell you, I believe our best days are ahead. We can get our unhoused neighbors off the street. We can get our economy back on track where no neighborhood is left behind. And we can make our communities healthy and safe, but only by working together and making sure that we support all of our communities and make sure that every community is healthy and safe and thriving. Again, I'm Vice Mayor Rex Richardson. Thank you so much for listening to all of us this morning.
Ms. Moser.
Thanks again to the Arts Council and to everybody, the League of Women Voters and everybody that came out here. I am really excited to be a part of this process. This is the first time running for public office, and I really do feel honored to be able to sit amongst, I'll call them compatriots, because we all want the same thing. We want a better Long Beach. So we have some challenges ahead of us. Mainly public safety, homelessness, economic development, affordable housing, quality of life. These are not one policy where you're going to sign something and change Long Beach significantly. It has to be engagement from the public, and we need to really focus on answering the questions and solving the problems that are really affecting people in Long Beach. It's really shows, I think, that the people, because there are so many people running for office this election season, shows that there really is a desire from the people to have a better form of governance and a better leadership in helping to get Long Beach turned around from this horrible pandemic. I have an economic development plan that will get the Queen Mary restored and back to full operation within a year. That will be done without taxpayer money, and there's private partnerships. It's something that's already in the works, and I'll be doing this whether you vote for me or not. But I have a lot of really good ideas and a lot of really valid, relevant experience that I think will help me bring Long Beach back to profitability and make it the great city that it is. So please vote for Deb Moser and go to my website if you'd like to hear any more of my platform at debmoser4thelbc.com. Thank you.
Mr. Cedillo, your closing statement.
I'm glad to see the number of people that turned out today. I know it's not because you love politicians. I've never ever heard anyone say, "Yay, politicians!" No, nobody loves us. But I'll be frank, I'm not a politician. I'm an educator. I'm just a regular Joe. I live here in Long Beach. I'm raising my kids here in Long Beach. One of them was born here. My wife was born and raised here all her life. So I think it's important that we take a good look at our city and we say to ourselves, are we happy with what we're seeing? I know I'm not. I'm pretty sure that's why you're all here, because you want to see change. Over the years, we've seen a lot of gentrification. People can't afford houses anymore. People can't afford their rent. They're one sick day away or one paycheck away from losing it, from being out on the street. Every night, I see cars start to line up on different streets throughout Long Beach. I'm sure you've noticed. They park overnight, and what are they doing? They're sleeping in their cars. It's expensive. It's getting crazy. We need changes, big changes. And that includes things like rent control, investments in the people, in job training and mental health services to address homelessness, also an annual minimum wage increase. Because if the rents keep going up, guess what? Stagnation doesn't help anyone if nobody gets a raise. Unionization, we need to push for unionization. They are taking away our city from us. Some of us here have children that can't afford to live here anymore. The kids have to leave the city, or their grandchildren will have to leave the city. Me as an educator, I can't afford to live here. I don't know how long I can handle it, but I'm hanging on as hard as I can because I love the city, and I know you do too. I know you want change. So let's vote for change. When I leave here today, I'm going to go to some of those rallies, some of those protests. They're trying to overturn Roe versus Wade. What's going to happen next? Segregation coming back? Our voter rights being taken away? Let's break the chains, Long Beach. Break the chains together. Let's vote for change. Vote for Raul Cedillo. If you have questions, my website is lbcmayor.com. Made it simple for you.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you. Again, like most of these people, I'm just an average guy. I'm a patrol officer, and I serve the public. It's all I've ever wanted to do, to keep people safe and make sure that the government has a professional representative behind it. But we have a lot of struggles here in Long Beach, and again, it's the same promises. Every election season, we see the same faces promising the same things, and nothing's done. In fact, it's worse. And so I stood up. I'm here to work for you, and I'm tired of the lies. And again, in fact, we need such drastic changes. I think we need to make our chief of police an elected position so they don't fall into the pocket of the city manager and the mayor. I think we need the people to have a representative in the police department. So we need to focus on our public safety. Like I said, we can't have people dying in our streets, being run over, when simple solutions that have been available the entire time. Lock a parking lot, add some lighting. Those are the responsibilities of government. We're supposed to be fiscally responsible and not keep digging into the taxpayers' pockets. We need to find a different way. So let's find that lost money. Let's reprioritize. Let's get the homeless off the street. And for me, I think we need to declare a state emergency and tap on the shoulder of California and activate the National Guard to assist the police in getting the people that are gravely disabled off the street into shelters immediately, because those people are dying in our streets in the most miserable, uncomfortable ways possible. And all I can do is be real with you about who I am and what I care about. And so I really hope that I earn your vote. June 7th, come out, please. Tell your friends. If you want promises, vote for somebody else. If you want change, you want effective change and someone that serves the public and won't lie to you or become a millionaire while in office, vote for me. Go to my website, josh4lbcmayor.com. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, I'm on everything. And again, it's not about me. I don't want to be famous. I'm here to work for you. And I want to be in every community in Long Beach because we deserve better. We always have. Thank you.
Mr. Sims.
We are in such a beautiful setting. You know, we've got canopies, the chairs. But let's be honest, it's beautiful because we've got these walls and we can't see what's going on outside of them. But we're gonna leave here, you're gonna go home, and you're gonna be reminded of the elephant in the room, and that is our homelessness crisis. I want you to leave with two things. Number one, we have trapped our homeless inside of Long Beach. How? The Housing Authority gives what are called vouchers. Those vouchers are to be used to get a place to live. Well, the Housing Authority and Homelessness Services will oftentimes brag about how many vouchers they gave out. But what they don't tell you is there's no place to use those vouchers in Long Beach. So they've got the vouchers. Now that they have the vouchers, there's another problem. You can only use the voucher in Long Beach. Well, as you've heard, Long Beach doesn't have affordable housing, especially the type that would take a voucher. But you can't use the voucher in the neighboring communities that would be more affordable. So we have effectively trapped the homeless inside of Long Beach. So when you leave these walls and you see the reality of Long Beach and the disparity, understand that that's what's happened. The other thing is this: there is no true incentive for our local government to fix homelessness because they're making too much money from it. It's big business. The only way we get in front of that is we admit homelessness services in Long Beach is not doing a good job. And we have to take away their strength in bureaucracy and stop focusing on grants and start focusing on solutions. You guys shouldn't have to leave this beautiful space into the reality that you will walk and drive into when you do leave here. I'm Franklin Sims. I'm running for mayor.
Ms. Price.
Thank you, and thank you so much to the Arts Council and the League of Women Voters for hosting us today, and to all of those who are on stage with me today. It really is an honor and a privilege to be included among them. I will tell you that over the last 8 years, I'm very proud of the work that the entire City Council has done for this city. I think we've done some great things in the area of policies that move our city forward in a positive direction. I think there are times where we've agreed and there are times when we've disagreed. And it's in those moments that you have to determine who is the right candidate for you and where does their values align with yours. And that's just the reality that only research and your hard work will lead you to a conclusion on. For me, I can tell you that I was raised by a proud single mother who's here today, who taught me that life was about public service, and it's what I've committed my life to. My life has never been about politics, it's been about public service. I'm raising my 2 boys with my husband, Mark, a military veteran who's also here in this city, and I have 0 political aspirations outside of this city. We need a mayor with its eyes on Long Beach. We need a mayor who's focused on the things that may not be so glamorous, but critical to your everyday quality of life, and that's constituent services. I did my master's thesis on the issue of what would happen if cities treated their constituents like businesses treat their customers. And the reality is, based on the city of Visalia, that it really makes a difference to the lives of people in how they believe in their city and their government and the trust they have in their government. I'm about service, I'm about responsiveness, I'm about engaging with you and delivering results. I can tell you in the day job that I have every day, I'm working on the homelessness issues. And the point in time numbers are going to be coming out in the next week or 2. I can tell you there are jurisdictions that are doing it right. We need to scale up our outreach, and we need to partner more with nonprofits to provide services. I work in a county that's going to have really amazing results to show in a few weeks. The city of Long Beach has not been doing everything that we can in the area of homelessness. It is the #1 issue that every resident in this city is concerned about. For the purposes of today, we want a vibrant society that has arts and culture incorporated in everything that we do. We're a hugely diverse community, and every single district is going to thrive. As mayor, I'm going to make sure that everyone gets what they need and then some, so that we can be stronger together and all have the feeling of living in a small town in this big city. Thank you.
All right, thank you, candidates, so much for being here today and sharing your views with this audience. Let's all thank them for coming out today. That concludes the forum. There's one more thing left on the program, and Greg Johnson.
Well, give another round of applause to our forum of mayoral candidates. Thank you so much for coming. I'm Greg Johnson, Vice President of the Arts Council for Long Beach. I'd like to extend our personal thank you to each and every one of you to come out and share your thoughts and expressions with us. There's a little gift they'd like to give us, the Board of Directors, that says, "Council plans, not humanity." These are a beautiful card set. Take one and pass them down. Now, while we are about to wrap up, we're going to share with you some expressions of art through spoken word, and we're going to bring that up to you in just a few moments. But I'd like to just share with you that you can, this has been live streamed across our Arts Council for Long Beach Facebook page. It'll be up on YouTube. You'll be able to see it on demand. You'll be able to share it with your friends. We'd like to thank our partners, the League of Women Voters. Please give them a round of applause for going down this journey with us. Back in the back watching the children is the Long Beach Early Childhood Education Committee. Yeah. And yes, this is a beautiful place. Thank you to MOLA, the Museum of Latin American Art. This is a great, great, great place. All right. Hashtag ArtsLB. I think I've done everything that I'm supposed to do. Thank you to Griselda Suarez, Executive Director of the Arts Council for Long Beach, the Board of Directors of the Arts Council for Long Beach. Anything else?
Me.
I'm coming. Hold on. That's it for the sound? Okay, we're good to go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, to express art through the expressions of spoken word, please welcome to the podium Micah Bornet. And after Micah comes, Micah has books.
Morning, everybody. When I got asked to read a poem today, they told me to try to select something about community, and I love that. And so I was thinking about what poem I wanted to share, and I first wrote this poem a couple months ago, and I titled it Abundant. But I was sharing it with a Cambodian friend of mine, and she liked the poem, but she goes, I particularly like the title because she says, my name, Sambolip, in the Khmer language, means abundance of luck or abundance of blessing. And I thought that was so beautiful, especially considering the Khmer population here. So I changed the name of the title from Abundant to Sambolip. And I pray Sambolip on everybody here. I pray Sambolip on our community. I pray Sambolip on everyone who calls Long Beach home. What if love is not a ghost? What if love is more than a rumored haunting, a reckless hypnotist? Some pray to be possessed while others lose faith like a childhood belief revealed to be fantasy. What if we are foolish pirates, desperately chasing desert islands, digging deep for treasure chests full of happily ever afters, not realizing love is no hidden fortune found by the lucky. Love is the ocean that keeps our ship afloat. Love is the boat, the wind that makes us go, the lighthouse leading us safely to harbor, the constellations guiding us through darkness. Love is the entire beyond. Love is a sun ray in the Mojave, a raindrop in the northwest, a dope MC in Long Beach, a croissant in Paris. Who made us afraid of famine? Love has never been in short supply. Love is the 2 hours you wait in the barber shop because only one person is allowed to touch your head. Love is the gentleness with which he draws that blade across your neck, not a single cut or drop of blood. Love is the trust you put in his touch to make you look good on every important day of your life. Love is the barista who starts making your order the second she sees you arrive. Love is listening to your grandma tell you the same story for the third time and still acting surprised. Love is seeing something you prayed for happen to your best friend and still popping champagne despite the pain you wish you didn't feel. Love is being honest with yourself. Love is 7 billion hypocrites and counting. Love doesn't wait until you've got it all right. Love is the person you are, not the person you find. Love rains down on me like a storm cloud, swells up like a flood, knowing good and well I can't swim that good. Love is terrifyingly abundant. Isn't that the problem? We're afraid of the cure. We love hurting. We love longing. We love despising ourselves too much to do what is good for us. We love what we're used to. We love comfort, no matter how torturous. We love hating our lives. We love complaining. We love dreaming up what could be, but doing nothing about it. We love numbing. We love running away from what we say we're searching for. It is hit. You don't have to feel ready. The war has arrived and love is winning. Everything you're afraid of is already attacking you, and you are still here because you, my love, are abundant, because love is abundant, because you, love, have always been greater than all of your fears. Thank you.
All right, if all hearts and minds are clear, this concludes the Mayoral Candidates Forum presented by the Arts Council, League of Women Voters, and all of y'all. Travel in peace and blessings.
Thank you guys so much for joining. We will have a nice video posted on our YouTube soon. Okay.